This shit is fucking filthy. Look at that. I sat in that damn thing. I gotta say, man. With that fucking, between like that hat and the... I played the jingle off of that computer. Between that fucking hat and the jacket and just sitting in that fucking filth, I'm not satisfied with what I got, but it's what I'm gonna put in anyways, because I'm a unoriginal sack of shit. This YouTube shit's kind of stressful already, because I like gotta come up with my own jokes and shit to say. And I don't talk to people. I don't have any fucking good jokes. I kind of wonder if any of the YouTubers that I like right now kind of started off with their own bland, generic bullshit content and then kind of developed their humor and angle as they went along. Because when I watch their shit, it seems like they've been fucking masters at the craft. I want to do that shit. I've got some shit to say. If I can actually manage to form a fucking sentence coherently. I think I was supposed to do a collection video, so I'm just gonna do that now. It'd be a better idea. This shit. Alright, so basically I'm just gonna start off where I did last night before my phone ran out of juice. So right here, we've got the richest... Fucking focus, man. The Richest Man in Babylon by Thievery Corporation. It's a badass fucking album. It's probably not their best. I think, for me personally, that would go between The Mirror Conspiracy or Culture of Fear. Maybe The Temple of I and I, but this is a good record. Anything that Thievery does is pretty great. I don't collect vinyls so much more these days. Simply because, like, CDs will, despite popular belief, generally sound better. Vinyl doesn't sound any better. It just has the vinyl sound, which sometimes really works. Particularly well in the case of this record. This is probably the most important Rush record to me, Signals. It is fucking fantastic, and I say that as a fan of prog Rush, and this is when they started getting into their pop stuff. I like Wilco. This record isn't really anything special, but I bought it just so I could put it up on display, specifically because of this shit. I think the guy's name is Joan Cornella or something. Yeah, Joan Cornella. Joan Cornella. There we go. Just fucking say, man, I can't make a fucking coherent sentence. Real Pumpkins fans know about Gish. It's pretty fucking badass. In all honesty, I'm not really a big fan of Edgar Winter, but this is a radio promo copy, so I just kind of wanted to put it up in my room because it looks cool, because I'm a poser piece. So now I'm just starting on CDs. The Verve, A Storm in Heaven 2016 remastered box set. Yeah, 2016, not 2017. That was this year. Record is very near and dear to my heart, and you can be assured that you're going to see an episode specifically on this on a series I plan to do called Super Unknowns, which would be records that never got much attention or are completely obscured, but totally deserve more praise and more attention than they got. I'd say the main problem with CDs, though, is just that the jewel cases kind of fall apart after a while, but Asia is probably one of my favorite records ever, and most definitely one of the most well-produced albums of all time. It's really a brilliant piece of music. I can guarantee you'll see Super Unknowns on Blind Melon. It was known back in the 90s, but people just sort of forgot it, and it really deserves to be remembered, because there's nothing like Blind Melon. I really love Cyros. I've actually got Agatis Björner, however you say that Icelandic fucking shits, up on my wall, but this is actually probably my least favorite of their most well-known records. I just couldn't get behind it in the way that I could Talk or, you know, the Blue Fetus. I'm halfway considering making a Super Unknowns on this. My only problem is every song in this album sounds the same, but it's like a really good sound that I really appreciate, and I haven't heard anywhere else. It's a good mix between Japanese post-rock and Japanese shoegaze. Don't know how I feel about this album artwork, though. I do really love the CD inside, though. I just think that's fucking dope. Kitchens of Distinction. This band warrants a Super Unknown on their whole catalog, and I'm probably just going to make a video on the band as a whole, because they have produced no bad content and they really deserved more than they ever got. This right here is a beautiful album, as well as this one. Still in a Dream. For those of you looking to get into shoegaze, this I believe to be an essential resource next to just Reddit and shit. It has upwards of a lot of songs on it. They're all by different artists. And strangely enough, no My Bloody Valentine. They've got all the other big guys, but no My Bloody Valentine. Miniatures, Jessamines. Great album. Came out just last year, as a matter of fact, in October 2017. I'd really recommend people give it a listen. It's really, really great shoegaze, mixed with some electronic elements. So now we've got the rest of my collection. Rush really needs no introduction. Very important to me. This album is almost single-handedly responsible for my obsession with music today. This remaster that they released in 2017 is fucking phenomenal. However, and I'm really disappointed by it because it used to be one of my favorite bands, but Dream Theater's cover of Xanadu is absolutely inexcusable. And I think James LaBrie needs to be thrown in a fucking hole. I don't think I need to really say anything here. Another Super Unknowns case. Actually, this and its subsequent album, Fire Make Thunder, which I unfortunately do not have in my collection, really warrant one. OSI deserve much more attention than they got, and they're an excellent prog supergroup. Also, Kevin Moore is a fucking god. I don't plan to do a Super Unknown on this. But I do plan to do the Super Unknown on the next album that came out in this band's discography, Urban Twilight, if my friend would give it back to me. I'm a little chapped about that. A lot of people love My Dead Girlfriend. A lot of people really love this EP right here. Some more Japanese shoegaze. I don't care for it. It's fucking loveless, man. This is the only Metallica I have in my collection. My problem with buying Metallica CDs is that they're so cheap and they're so common that I really never have an incentive to get one. I just picked this one up because I was in desperate need of some music at the time. Because I kind of assumed... I don't even think I've ever opened this to look inside, really. But I kind of assumed that the U-Haul truck I was moving up in here had a CD player in it, but it had neither an aux cord, an aux jack, nor a CD player. So I really bought this for no reason, and I haven't played it yet. This was the first CD I ever bought getting seriously into my collection. Unfortunately, I don't know where the actual firsts are, and those would be 2112, Ride the Lightning, Let's Face It by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and a fucking Allman Brothers compilation. It was pretty cool. This album is cool, but I just don't see myself coming back to it that often. It's nothing special. Keisuka. I forget the entire story behind why I got this album. I think it was up on Japanese Shoegaze's channel, now Asian Shoegaze. It's cool. It's cool. A little more KOD. I just really wanted to hold on to this CD because it's important to me. This the album The Death of Cool has a great significance in my life, and I think you'll see a firm mention of it on a future video that I have planned, called Albums That Stick With You in Your Life. This is a Jim Matthews solo CD. It's actually neoclassical, and I'm not so sure why I got it. At the time, I thought it was really cool, so, I mean, I'm absolutely sure why I got it. But now it's just kind of boring to listen to, really. Which is almost like heresy for me, because I love Jim Matthews. I just love me some fucking Jesus and Mary Chain, man. I can always sit back and jam Jesus and Mary Chain. This fucking album right here. The closest thing I can even think of to this record, Disconnected by Fate's Warning, is OSI, which is basically if you took Fate's Warning and stripped out all of the other instrumentalists, all the other musicians except for Kevin Moore and the head honcho Jim Matthews, and you get this. Well, you don't get this, you get OSI. This is like a precursor to OSI, and it's fucking brilliant. It really showcases this dark sound like no other when you get Jim Matthews and Kevin Moore on board. And that's actually part of the reason that I'm so in love with Fates Warning. I'm so in love with OSI. The Dominici trilogy. This in and of itself is worthy of a super unknown because it's got a really interesting history. Holy shit. I've been recording the wrong way. Anyways, it's got a really interesting history. And it definitely deserves so much more appreciation than it got, because these are incredible records. It's like Dream Theater, but better output than what they were doing at the time. And that's why I like it. Speaking of Dream Theater, when I started collecting CDs, I was a really huge fan of them, and I still am. But I don't go back to all these albums as much as I used to. Right now, I'll occasionally listen to Train of Thought. This one's still pretty cool every now and then because I love Charlie Dominici as a vocalist. Systematic Chaos, at the time I thought it was just a true prog epic, and it hasn't aged well on me, but I still love it, and I still think it gets a lot more hate than it ever really deserved. This is one of the greatest fucking albums of all time right here. No questions asked, and I think it is the absolute best Dream Theater record. Deaf Heaven. I really love the artwork on this album. This album has a lot of significance to me, and I have a lot of memories of listening to this album and doing things. Just things. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. By the way, great Mushrooms albums right here. If you're ever on some fucking mushrooms, put this shit on. It's pretty fucking rad. This might warrant a Super Unknowns. I got this simply because of this track right here. Under the Milky Way Tonight is almost like this proto-shoegaze, proto-goth sort of song, and it's just fucking beautiful. This whole album is really beautiful. In fact, I'm 75% sure that you will see a Super Unknowns on this album, Starfish, by The Church, in the future. Surprise! It's Steven Wilson. You'd be surprised how often you can say that, really. The man's everywhere, but Porcupine Tree... These aren't actually my favorite Porcupine Tree albums. In fact, this might be one of my least favorites, but they're still all fantastic. I only really discovered my favorite Porcupine Tree, which is Lightbulb Sun, or it would be Sky Moves Sideways through Lightbulb Sun after I bought these, and I hadn't really gotten the new ones since, but it's definitely on my priority list. School of Fish, definitely worthy of a Super Unknowns. Not so much this record. This record is good, but I wouldn't call it super. It does have some cool songs on it, especially 3 Strange Days, which was a moderate radio hit in the early 90s, and they just kind of fell off. But this is a fucking banger all the way through. All the songs have like a similar thing. I'll save it for the video. This is good, and it's a real shame that no one even really knows that this exists. Also, the CD is backwards because the jewel case broke and I had to do an emergency transplant, and I'm not sure how this has happened exactly. Slow dive, if I can even manage to manipulate this camera right now. Souvlaki. Melancholy, The Infinite Sadness. I really love this record. That's a bold-faced lie. I only love the first part of this record. There are really some missteps on this album, but there also, for everyone, there's just like a really fucking good song. It's pretty fucking great, I imagine. But this one is objectively better. It's fucking Super Unknown, man. It's where I got the name for a series that I've made no videos for yet, that I've been talking about all throughout this video, so it's really kind of stupid for me to mention it in the first place. But this is a good record. This is a pretty great record, and I really love this album artwork. Actually, I'm not done with this yet. Funny story behind this album. I first got into Soundgarden because I was like in a really bad mood this particular evening, and I was looking for the most cynical albums I could find, and I found this. And I was like, holy shit, why haven't I not given Soundgarden a chance before? This is fucking amazing. Super Unknown's it's almost a perfect record. 12 hours later, almost exactly, the news breaks that Chris Cornell killed him. This didn't come with cover art. Be wary of eBay. However, this is still a great record. They spent their wild, youthful days in the glittering world of the salons. I can never remember the whole thing, but this is a fantastic shoegaze record and definitely worthy of the Super Unknowns, because it's mentioned often, heard little. Tundra 4. I literally got this album because it was named Kitsu. It's pretty alright. There's some weird, obscure prog that I came across, and I might make a Super Unknowns on this. I don't know, because the only track that I remember off of this is The Garden, which is the prog epic of the album. But Unitopia is a pretty badass band, though they have split off in recent years. I really want to hate this album, in all honesty, because once the Verve hit their stride on this, and then also disintegrated soon after, nobody ever went back and gave A Storm in Heaven a listen, and they never played their early material out on stage. But I can't hate this because it is a great record. In fact, I almost wanted to hate it specifically because it was kind of pop music, but I can't because it is a great record, and everybody should listen to this because Bittersweet Symphony is not all the band has to offer. There's so much more. Brief collection of vinyls that I don't really feel like going through. This one right here, Jurassic 5, is my favorite. It's a limited copy of the Opaque Blue vinyl. Quality Control is a great rap album. Though rap isn't necessarily my area of expertise. Most of these I really just kind of got from my old man, so I don't know what they are. But Foxtrot, this one I got myself. I'm a huge fan of early Genesis and anything they do. This right here, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, is very important to me, and I'm going to make a whole video just on how much I appreciate this, and maybe early Genesis as a whole, but that right there gets its own video. Gorillaz, I just kind of bought this on the fly. Duke and Trick of the Tail are probably the only Phil Collins Genesis albums that I find remotely acceptable. I don't like Phil Collins. Can I read? Oh, yeah, I don't know what this is either. I just kind of picked it up. Thick as a Brick. Another one that is greatly responsible for my love of music today. No, it's not fucking Rust in Peace. It's Peace Sells, but who's buying? This is kind of considered heresy, but I'm not so crazy about this record. I'm not so crazy about thrash metal in general, as a matter of fact. But I cannot deny that this is a good record, and there are a few songs that I like off of it. Tubular Bells. Some fucking prog classics. It's Miniatures again. Fucking Iron Fist, Motorhead, big part of my high school, my early high school years, and Lemmy is my fucking hero. Bark at the Moon, Ozzy's solo stuff was fucking great while he was still good at doing solo stuff. That's kind of redundant. I don't know what this is, but I think it has really, let me see if I can actually grab this shit. I think it has really, really cool artwork. I mean, in all honesty, the vinyls were kind of a fad for me. Renaissance. They're a pretty good prog band. I recommend people check them out if they're looking for something new. Hemispheres. I've got some document number 5 action right here from... Can I even find where I am? From REM? Yeah. Hemispheres and Fly By Night, because Rush is just the fucking best, and they're absolutely legendary. This album, Smashing Pumpkins, Live at the Cabaret, do not fucking buy it. It is hot garbage. I was honestly almost a little offended. Oh, Jesus, that they performed so poorly live and then decided to sell it. I hate it. My vinyls are all out of whack now. Who Are You? This is a great fucking record right here. But The Who really needs no introduction. And yes, Close to the Edge. Another prog masterpiece that really got me where I am musically today. And that's about it. The video was really kind of not necessary, but I felt the urge to post something up today. By the way, that dog you hear in the background is actually retarded. Literally retarded dog. Very inbred. It's a mix between a Jack Russell Terrier and a Pit Bull, and it is terrible. This never stops. Never stops.